State regime media, which calls itself Fox, is in full panic mode, and they are panicking on live TV as Donald Trump continues to spiral. You have state regime media hosts like Brian Kilmeade even calling out Donald Trump for using Jared Kushner and using Steve Witkoff as his so-called top diplomats with Iran and elsewhere. Even state regime media is like, why do you have these two idiots out there negotiating? They don't know what they're doing. They're like failed real estate guys. Can you at least try to bring in someone from the State Department who knows what they're doing to represent the United States on the international stage and in very sensitive negotiations? Watch what state regime media host Brian Kilmeade says while panicking on air. Let's play this clip right here.
And I also don't think that Witkoff and Kushner should be the ones doing this. They're business guys. They have not been effective in Ukraine, not been effective in Gaza. They have not been effective in this. They can't have three portfolios to begin with. We have a State Department for a reason. Marco Rubio, even Democrats admit, has been looked at as a genius internationally. He is the guy that most people would want, even if you gave truth serum to Democrats. He should take the lead on this because you can't do this like a business deal. You have to understand the history of the region and how distrustful the Iranians have been. They will only make a decision if they have no other choice.
But it didn't end there. State regime media then brought on former failed speaker, Kevin McCarthy to call out MAGA Mike Johnson. And you know Murdoch worked with Kevin McCarthy to script this, to call out MAGA Mike Johnson. And Kevin McCarthy's like, why do you keep on recessing Congress? Go bring the people back. Go bring your members back. Do work, MAGA Mike Johnson. You're supposed to be the majority in the House of Representatives. Why the hell are you out there constantly recessing and running away, folks? You've got Murdoch calling McCarthy to call out MAGA Mike Johnson. Okay, when I say full meltdown mode, yeah. Here, play this clip.
You know this better than anyone. I mean, you would come in and help us along the way to help us win these races. The thing that you have the majority in the House right now. Stop recessing. Show the American public what you are by passing the legislation that you believe in. You can't sit back and say the Democrats are socialists and they can't do it. You got to show them what you're able to achieve. Lay out that agenda that you're able to do. Yes, you secured the border. Take that. But make sure you're lowering the prices, you're lowering the fuel costs, but also that you're making our streets safe again. Pass the legislation day in and day out between now and the election and show them what you believe in.
And then you have state regime media hosts describing socialism and then actually describing Donald Trump. They're like, when Hugo Chavez took office, he tried to control all levers. He tried to expand presidential power. He tried to take over the courts. Okay, don't you quite literally realize that that's Donald Trump? And when Donald Trump is like, I'll be the greatest communist. You could call me Lenin. I would be if I was a communist, Donald Trump goes, I would just promise, I'll give you free this. I'll give you free that. Vote for me. I'll give you everything. And then when you get into office, you don't even deliver. That's what a communist is. That's Donald Trump's definition. That's literally Donald Trump. That's what you did. I will promise to slash your electricity prices at least in half. And then I'm going to make sure everybody can afford housing. I will bring down inflation. There will be no inflation. The guy lies about everything. But watch what they say on state regime media. They're describing Trump. Trump is like Chavez. Here, play this clip.
I don't like socialism.
History shows that when countries fall to things like socialism, it's not overnight. It's a slow creep. You look at Hugo Chavez when he took over Venezuela, he was democratically elected. He promised to fight corruption. He promised to return power to the people. And then he did the opposite. They rewrote the Constitution. He expanded presidential powers. He corrupted independent institutions. And you look here in America with leftists and what Democrats want to do. what Brian had pointed out, packing the Supreme Court, eliminating the filibuster, expanding ballot harvesting nationwide, rewriting election rules so that they favor the Democrat Party. That is how you have a slow creep to a fallen nation right here in America.
So you're saying these people are going to wind up in a Nike tracksuit like Maduro. Really quick for you.
Then more from Brian Kilmeade, who he's like, all right. Let me tell you the difference between Donald Trump and Graham Plattner. This is what they go. They go, Donald Trump will call out the accuser directly and say, I didn't do it. Graham Plattner says, I didn't. Brian Kilmeade's like, okay, well, I don't even know what I'm even saying, bro. Watch what Brian Kilmeade says right here. Hey, Brian, Donald Trump was found civilly liable in a federal court by a federal jury for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll. Donald Trump could have taken the stand and testified at the trial, but he ran away. He said he had to build something in Scotland and Ireland, and so he ran away. And then he told reporters, I might return. Actually, I'm going to return. To which the federal judge then asked Trump's lawyer, is he going to return? And Trump's lawyer's like, no. He's definitely not returning. Let me show you what Brian Kilmeade said here. Play this clip.
Difference is with Trump. I don't know if the Ken Paxton analogy might be relevant, but with
I didn't
Trump,
mention any names.
there's one thing with Trump. If you accuse him, he's going to tell you, no, you accuse me. He'll point you out. He'll hunt you down. He'll say directly exactly what it is. He doesn't say generally it's not true. He'll tell you exactly who accused him and tell you why it's not true. So he would confront these people. He just said it's not true. Well, you dated her for a while. Tell me why it's not true. Tell me the proof. That would show a guy that wanted to fight over the last 6 days. That probably would have kept him in the race if he pushed back and had proof that he didn't do it.
Standards have changed. That's the only thing I say.
And Brian, you know, we come with receipts here at the Meidastouch Network, unlike state regime media, which calls itself Fox. So let me just remind you and show you when Donald Trump went to a golf course overseas when he could have been testifying if he wanted to defend it, but he ran away. He ran away from the federal court. I'll just show you this clip. Let's play this clip.
Former President Donald Trump slamming the woman accusing him of rape as fake, saying he'll probably attend the trial.
And I have to go back for a woman that made a false accusation about me, and I have a judge who's extremely hostile. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to confront this one. This woman is a disgrace, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen in our country.
So closing arguments in E. Jean Carroll's case against Trump are set to start on Monday. The former president has not appeared in court during the span of this 7-day trial. His attorney says he still doesn't plan to testify. The judge, however, is giving the former president until Sunday at 5 p.m. to change his mind. Carroll is suing Trump for battery and defamation. She says he raped her in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room in the 90s and then lied about it, destroying her reputation.
And I will also show you these receipts right over here. I'll show you Donald Trump's comments about Graham Plattner on June 6th. And then we'll contrast it to his comments 2 days ago when Donald Trump commented on Plattner after the new allegations against Plattner. Here, play this clip.
I actually think the one in Maine is worse because he's just an outright pig. He's like a pig. I watched him a couple of times. He's like a pig. That's what he reminds me of. You know, I come up with good names for people. I don't want to stick him with that one, although I think pigs would be very upset about it.
And it's really a question of whether or not you believe the woman. A lot of people say big falsehoods. It's, he's in a bind. But should they be able to do it? Well,
I digress. Kayleigh McEnany, state regime media host, used to be Donald Trump's press secretary. And she's doing that same line that we saw that other Fox hosts do, booth. And so here's what Kayleigh McEnany says. We need to explain to people that when it comes to socialism, they want to build a coalition that fights against Christian nationalism. They want to fight against Christian nationalism. Here, play this clip.
For polls that way, there is something to that. We need to explain to people what socialism is. We have a great investigative unit on Saturday in America. We've done a deep dive into these DSA folks. They want to build a coalition of religious people with socialist values to defeat Christian nationalism. What is Christian nationalism? Okay. They want to defeat the moral fabric of this country, rip up Article 1, no Senate, rip up Article 3, no Supreme Court. When you end judicial review, you end the Supreme Court. They want non-citizen voting, no electoral college. They want to change the fabric of this country, rip up the constitutional foundation of America. That is what socialism is. And we need to educate people, to Lisa's point.
32-hour work week, too. And New Green Deal. We should add that.
Although I'm okay with the 32-hour work.
Yeah, stop it. And the only other asterisk.
That's the socialism you like.
The only other asterisk.
I told you state regime media is an impact. Can I share this with you as well? It's not fully off top. It's related. Democratic Congress member Adam Smith, one of the top-ranking Democrats, he would be the chair of the Armed Services Committee when Democrats take control in the midterms. And he goes, I just heard what Brian Kilmeade said on Fox, state regime media. I agree with he goes, why do we have Witkoff and Kushner? No one appointed these people. They're losers. Here, play this clip.
Well, it's not surprising because there just hasn't been, I think, a sufficient focus on diplomacy. And I agree with with Brian Kilmeade, the Fox News guy who you quoted. I mean, putting Witkoff and Kushner on this, as well as they're on a half dozen other things where they don't have any experience instead of using the State Department. I mean, the Trump administration hasn't really taken the diplomacy piece of this as seriously as they need to. And these are incredibly complicated negotiations. I mean, before you even get to the nuclear stuff, Iran has a different vision of what opening up the Strait of Hormuz is than we do. Our vision is exactly like it was before the war started. Their vision is it's open, but we control it. And that's a very different thing. You need very talented negotiators. So no, I don't think the Trump administration has done the work on diplomacy any more than they did the work to know that this war wasn't going to lead to the result that they wanted, even though that was something a lot of experts told them.
More from Democratic Congress member Adam Smith here. You could hear for yourself. Play this clip.
Difference is with Trump. I don't know if the Ken Paxton analogy might be relevant, but with
I didn't
Trump,
mention any names.
there's one thing with Trump. If you accuse him, he's going to tell you, no, you accuse me. He'll point you out. He'll hunt you down. He'll say directly exactly what it is. He doesn't say generally it's not true. He'll tell you exactly who accused him and tell you why it's not true. So he would confront these people. He just said it's not true. Well, you dated her for a while. Tell me why it's not true. Tell me the proof. That would show a guy that wanted to fight over the last 6 days. That probably would have kept him in the race if he pushed back and had proof that he didn't do it.
Standards have changed. That's the only thing I say.
Yeah, powerful words right there. True. But then on state regime media, they then devolve into the ridiculous, where they're clearly afraid of James Tallarico in Texas. And then you've got Dan Patrick. Pull up this photo of Dan Patrick so we could all see how strong he is. Being sarcastic, of course. Dan Patrick says, Tallarico, he's a lightweight. He's a 90-pound weakling. He's a 90-pound weakling. 90-pound weakling? What are these people talking? I go, yeah, man, that Tallarico, 90-pound weakling. Who are these people? Here, play this clip.
Senate. He's a lightweight. He's a 90-pound weakling. He couldn't lift a 10-pound weight in a gym if he helped it. And I don't think that Jasmine and the black community is going to come out and support him, and that will sink him.
Then they bring on MAGA. They're like, all right, bring on MAGA Republican Senator Britt from Alabama. We need her to do cleanup. Talk about Democratic socialists, and then Senator Britt from Alabama. And she's like, the thing about the DSA, they hate America. They want to make you dependent on the government. They want to create dependency on things like Medicare, Social Security. Like your Congress health care plan, as Leslie Marshall says. Here, play this clip.
No, look, I think what we're seeing is beyond alarming. And I think the Democratic Party has been taken over by the far left, by the Democrat Socialists of America. And what we find the common thread between all of them is that they actually hate America. When you look at the policies they're putting forth, they're policies that ultimately take away our freedoms, that create dependency on government. When you look at what they're saying about who's responsible for what, you saw this candidate that you just talked talked about in Michigan, who said that he didn't want to say anything about the Ayatollah being killed because he was afraid that people in Michigan were sad about it. Look, I was in Fort Rucker, Alabama today, where we were with our brave servicemen and women. And I can tell you one thing, that the man who was responsible, the Ayatollah, for terror all across the globe, but in particular has Americans' bloods on their hands, any candidate should be able to say that we are glad that they are no longer here. These candidates can't say they love America. You saw the candidate there in New York in Congress say that instead of using a napkin, she wiped her hands on the American flag. It's disgusting and despicable. I think we have to call them out for what they are. And we have to realize that the Democratic Party is completely and totally lost, and it is beholden to the socialist of America. It's a sad day.
But then on state regime media, they then bring on Donald Trump's trade representative, Jamison Greer, who's like, okay, Donald, he's just like Abraham Lincoln. They both love tariffs. When everybody thinks about Lincoln, they think tariffs. And when you think Trump, you think Lincoln because of tariffs. What are you talking about? Play this clip.
And then everyone will be able to see the strong action that the president is taking to try to do this. I mean, we think about Abraham Lincoln. He was against slavery. He was for tariffs. President Trump, similarly, he's for tariffs, and he is against forced labor. We're trying to deal with this.
Oh, then state regime media brings in Eric Trump, and Eric's like, my daddy made Palm Beach. That's what my daddy made Palm Beach hot. So that's why they're going to name the airport DJT. Don't you all just look forward to the day when we could remove Trump's name from things? It's going to be a good look. Just think about that as you head into the weekend. Just think about the day where Donald Trump's name will be ripped down from all of the buildings. His name will be removed from all of the things it's cursing. Here's what Eric Trump has to say. Play this clip.
We had tremendous support. I mean, absolutely tremendous support. Even all 5 airlines that come out of Palm Beach Airport, they all signed on to it. So, Delta, United, American Airlines, JetBlue, Southwest, they all signed on to it. They love the name change. And so now at the top of your ticket, instead of seeing PBI, you're going to see DJT in perpetuity. And as I said before, guys, I mean, my father really put Palm Beach on the map in a way. I mean, everybody considers Mar-a-Lago to be the winter White House. There's probably no person in the world that's flown into this airport more times than Donald Trump. And, it's rare that you come into this airport where you don't see that plane behind us.
And then finally, Kevin McCarthy, just back to that for a moment. He's asked by Kellyanne Conway, can you think of anything parallel to Graham Plattner in the House of Representatives or in your career? And Kevin McCarthy's like, Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff? What does it even mean? Senator Adam Schiff, that's your example? That's not play this clip.
And Mr. Speaker, it strikes me that Graham Plattner is not the profile and courage here for dropping out in his 11-minute I Need Therapy video. It's the women who came forward. And I would remind everybody, last year, Mark Robinson, or 2 years ago, he was a big hot mess in North Carolina, and people abandoned him, the Republican nominee. Have you faced that as Speaker before? And can you think of any parallel to Graham Plattner that either party's had to deal with, that someone has let it go on so long he got 72% of the vote in a primary? Do we have history here?
Well, there's always examples because, look, we're a microcosm of society. We have Stephen King that had some difficulty problems, not with women, but in some of his positions. And he was defeated in a primary, but people moved him off committee. You had a number of people as we look through, but Plattner had examples before. Was it okay to have the Nazi symbol on him? Was it okay to have these womanizing problems before? We've seen this many times. Look, in my case, I tried to remove Adam Schiff off the Intel committee. I took it to the floor. Nancy Pelosi protected him. I tried to remove him times before. Nancy Pelosi protected him. But what we have found time and again, the party needs to rise up to protect it.
Anyway, there you have it. There you have it. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the Meidastouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.